if you think that this is a Hollywood star today with me, yes, it might be, but that is Penny Mallory, who looks like a star and who is a star, but she is psychological performance coach. I'm very excited about inviting Penny to Hidden Hero because what she did, I think not a single woman in the world did, imagine. Former rally champion and first woman to drive a world rally car for Ford. Because our company in Kazakhstan, we are distributor of Renault, French car, we are all days connected with the cars. And since I'm small, I'm afraid of the cars. I was saying, don't be afraid of the cars, but I'm afraid. And this beautiful lady, she's driving the cars. So my first question, Penny, to you about the cars. Why you decided to drive a car? Normally in Russia and in CIS countries, these are men who are driving the cars. And even the Arabic women, they drive the cars, but very, very slowly. Sometimes, the way of driving of women is a little bit different. But you were the rally champion. Why you choose this thing?
Well, the truth is, I saw when I was 6 years old, I was watching TV and I saw rally cars on TV and I was spellbound by it. I thought, oh my God, this is the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to grow up and be a rally champion, a rally driver. And of course, that was just a kid's dream, but it stayed in my head forever. And my life took lots of weird turns and things did not go very well for me. But when I was in a really bad place, I thought, and I was in my 20s, I thought, before I do anything stupid with my life, I'm going to have to get myself into a rally car because that's what I've dreamt of all my life. And so I booked a day at a rally school, and that day changed my life. I was completely transfixed in love with rally driving, and I decided I was going to give up everything to do it. And I was lucky enough to drive for 12 years. I drove for Ford. I drove a world rally car. I had the most amazing time, but this sounds like it was an easy thing. It was incredibly difficult because there's no opportunity for anybody, girls or boys, to drive at that level. So I had to work incredibly hard. But, the gender thing, the boy-girl thing was never, ever something that I thought about. I just wanted to do it. And people used to say, what's it like being a woman in a man's world? And I thought, well, I'm in my world. I'm not in somebody else's world. This is just weird. So I wanted to compete equally. I didn't want special treatment. I just wanted to be a competitor, regardless of my gender. It just wasn't a thing for me. So that's a very long answer to your short question.
That is a wonderful answer to my short question. Penny, I read that you have a very difficult childhood and somehow at the age of 14, you were even homeless. What's happened?
Okay, so I left home when I was 14 years old. I never went back. My mom was very ill. She was a manic depressive, but a very severe manic depressive. So in England, in the 60s and 70s, if you were as ill as my mom, and manic depression is suicidal lows and then crazy manic highs, and you just shift between them. And it was impossible to live with. And so in the 60s and 70s in England, you were put in a psychiatric hospital and given horrible, horrible treatment. But she was also an alcoholic. So when she did come home, it was never pleasant. She was either up or down or drunk. And I was just a very unhappy kid. So I just always I ran away a lot. And at 14, I ran away for good. And yes, at 16, I was in homeless hostels for a couple of years. And then sofa surfing around London. It was horrible. I say it was horrible. It was an adventure. I was always very independent and very resourceful, but there was some dark times and there were some amazing times. And it was just like everybody's life, a mix of everything.
How did you find food? Because 14, still for me, it's a baby. Okay, maybe for somebody, for me, it's a baby. How did you manage to survive?
Okay, so I grew up very quickly because I had to. So from about the age of 7, I pretty much looked up. I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't rely on anybody because I couldn't. At 14, I left my home and I went to stay with friends to see through my school and my exams. I was a really difficult, angry child. So I wasn't very nice to be around. And of course, as soon as my exams were finished, I went to London because I thought I could make something of myself, but it didn't quite go that way. So when I was in London, it was really hard. In those days, you used to get benefits from the government. It doesn't happen now. But I was always very resourceful. I learned to spend very, very little on food. And to this day, I can't throw food away because
Really?
I remember how valuable food was. So I cannot throw food away. It either has to be eaten or just not bought. It's
Wow.
funny how things stay with you forever.
Wow. It is the feeling of hunger, or just you feel that food is precious and you need to take care of that?
Yeah, no, it's too precious. Yeah, and they talk in England about lots of, thousands of tons of food being thrown away, every week, and I can't bear it to hear it. So I'm very grateful for food, and I'm very careful with how much food I have in my house because I don't want to waste it. I mean, and that's ridiculous. I should be over this stuff because it's a long time ago, but it's interesting, isn't it, how your childhood really does form you forever.
Of course. What was the way, what you think, what helped you become who you are? You are quite famous, you have money, you worked with many companies like Waitrose, Jaguar, Coca-Cola, Google. You're the speaker, international speaker, people interested in how you teach best performance. You're among world-class thinkers, how to overcome stress. So you reached success. What do you think? What helped you?
Thank you. I've always worked very hard. I don't like lazy. I can't do lazy. I can't sit still. I'm always doing something. I love working hard. I love making a difference. I'm interested in transformation because I had a transformation from a loser to a winner. And my life now is spent speaking at conferences about mental toughness, because if you can develop mental toughness, you can change your life. And I talk about it from my experience. So, as a homeless kid, as a driver, as a TV presenter, and now as a speaker. So I've lived it. I've learned it myself, and I want to share it because it is the most powerful transformational stuff. And mental toughness, be careful because I could talk about this all day long. It's really important, and actually most people understand when I explain what mental toughness is. They understand it's the foundation for your success. If you can get that stuff right, you can pretty much achieve anything. So that's what I spend my time doing, and I absolutely love it.
So you use the word from loser to winner. Why you think you were a loser, and why you think you are the winner now?
So it's a really good point, because my cousin once said to me, "You've got to stop calling yourself a loser." And I said, "Well, I felt like a loser." And actually I wasn't achieving much when I was in London. I felt like a loser. I was in a really bad place. What I hadn't really understood at the time was that I was incredibly tough inside. I didn't know that. But because of my
You mean
background,
tough inside? You were angry, you didn't love people, you were upset with yourself that your mom is not good, that you were angry with people that you're born in not in good family, or what is this?
I was angry with the world because it felt unfair. Why has everyone else got this stuff and I haven't got it? So I was resentful and I was angry. And then when I started driving rally cars, I realized that all the things that I felt, I could turn around, I could flip it all and put it into driving and focus all that energy and quite a lot of negative energy. I could focus it as a really positive force. So I'd learned to be very resourceful, which meant I could then get sponsors to sponsor me. I was quite I had an internal secret confidence. When I was in a car, I could display that confidence. I was determined as a kid to make something of myself. So when I got in a car, my determination was the most fantastic thing to release, because you need a lot of determination if you're going to drive rally cars. So all the things that I'd experienced as a kid, I hadn't realized were exactly what I needed to succeed as a rally driver. And I didn't work this stuff out for years and years and years, but I wouldn't change anything, because everything I learned probably too early served me very, very well.
When you are in the rally car and you're competing definitely with men, because most of the drivers are men.
Yeah.
What is important? Do you need to calm down? Do you need to look at the road? Do you need to forget about everything? Do you need to imagine how you will win and you receive the award? Or you speak to yourself? What is the secret of being a winner in the rally car?
I don't think it's any different to any career, any walk of life. It's the same stuff, which is the understanding what it is you're trying to achieve, and then spending all of your time, all of your energy, and putting all of your attention into that one thing. When you try and do 10 things, they get a tenth of your attention. You're not going to be brilliant at 10 things. And I worked that out. I'll give up everything and put all my energy into one thing. So I was very clear about where I wanted to go. Obviously, when you're driving, it's not a gender thing. It's how strong your mind is. You know, if you want to win more than the next person, you probably will. But obviously, you need practice. You need to develop skills. You need to quick think. You need to be able to make decisions quickly. You've got to be, you know, if you have a crash, you've got to bounce back very quickly and just get back in the car and go again. And none of that stuff is any different for boys or girls. It's the same stuff. But I think visualization was very important to me. I'm a very visual person, and I always in my head had dreams and pictures, and that's always helped me. So when I was doing a rally, I would imagine success, imagine driving the perfect corner, getting everything just perfect. And the more you think about making it perfect, the more likely it will be perfect. So yeah, I think good visualization, utter determination, but really importantly, understanding where it is you want to go. So start with the end in mind. Well, what am I doing? How am I going to do it?
What about Penny? What about money in that picture? Was that money that you start getting sponsors, you start attracting money, you start being independent, you became a winner? Did it help you to remove this past from you, to remove these terrible things? Or was it the thing to overcome? Or money is not playing that big role?
Okay, so you need a lot of money to drive rally cars, like crazy, crazy amounts of money. I didn't have any money. So I became very, very good at getting sponsorship. And in motorsport, the more money you have, the better the car you have, the more chance of winning you have. So money is incredibly important. But I had to persuade other people to give me their money. And so I became very good at marketing myself. I used to, in those days, there was no iPhones or anything. You filmed stuff on a camera and you had big fat tapes, and I would make videos and I would do brilliant presentations and make great proposals. I worked really hard behind the scenes to raise the money. And I got sponsored by some really famous brands in the UK, which was unheard of. You know, I was being sponsored by all sorts of people that had never
Why
been
they believed you, Penny? Why they trusted you? Why they supported you?
I don't know. In hindsight, you know, when I first started off, I was lying. I said I'd achieved stuff I hadn't. Which was really bad. But, you know, I had to fake it to make it. I had to pretend that I'd done this stuff and then get the money and then prove that I could do it. So thankfully, it got to a point I didn't have to cheat anyone anymore because I could give them results. So, yeah, I was a bit naughty at the beginning because I wasn't entirely truthful. But all my sponsors were very happy. Never let any sponsors down. I always delivered. So They
Why
always
they
felt
were happy? Because you put the name of Jaguar, for example, on the car, and it's good promotion for them, and it's in the press, in the media, on TV. Or why is that? Why you think for sponsors it was great to support you?
because I was a girl, and I was a freak. I was the weird one who stood out, and that meant I was more interesting maybe to interview, and I would get on TV and I'd be wearing all the logos, and so the sponsors attach a value to that. So I pushed and promoted myself to get on TV for the sponsors, and I got really quite good at that. And I think that was very much part of my success. So yeah, there was a lot of sponsors, got an awful lot of publicity, and I made different programs on TV, and my sponsors were involved. So it worked very well, but honestly, it was incredibly hard work. The driving was about 5%, and the getting the money to drive was about 95%.
Oh my God. So it is a very strong combination, driving a car, which is very difficult for the lady. How many hours a day normally you practiced this rally?
I didn't have enough money to practice and compete. So I, most of the time, didn't get in a car for a week or two. And then when I got in the car, that was my practice. But my practice had to be amazing because you learn very quickly when you know your time is limited in the car. So it was really frustrating because I wanted to drive every day. And at the time, I was instructing at a rally school myself. I became an instructor. So my only time in a car was in rubbish cars on an airfield with people that I was trying to teach. So yeah, to be good at anything, you need to do it a lot. And I could never get to do it enough until later in my career. But yeah, very, very difficult to get practice in a rally car because it is so expensive.
I can imagine. By the way, how can I imagine how much money you need to compete?
Well, one rally in a world rally car 20 years ago was £100,000. I don't know how that translates around the world, but it would be it's huge. You could buy a house, a really beautiful house, for every
Wow,
rally that I did.
wow, unbelievable. Do you
Yeah,
miss competing?
yeah, of course. I still dream that I'm in a rally car. It doesn't leave you. You don't do this stuff and then get on with your life. It always sort of sits with you. Um, yeah, I miss it terribly. I had an amazing time, but we move on. Everyone who competes in something has to stop competing at some point and do other stuff. So just like everybody else, I expect, I appreciate what an amazing time I had, but I also appreciate right now how good my life is right now.
About your life now, Penny, what do you think your biggest achievement at the moment?
Do you know, I'm very proud of my reputation as a speaker. When I first started speaking, I was very shy, had very low confidence. My talks were pretty rubbish. My talks are now really quite good. I have a great reputation. I'm so proud of that. And I think in a sense, that's my biggest achievement because it's brought together every aspect of my life, everything I've done, and I can put it into a keynote speech and deliver it to an audience and make a change in them. They want to change something.
Definitely, because we
And
feel these bumps, we feel this feeling of being in the street, a girl at the age of 14, and then watching this program and being in the rally car and collecting this money. You can make pictures, you can make stories, and it feels,
yeah.
and you don't, yes.
When I'm doing my speech, I tell my story, but really I'm talking to the audience about their life and what they can do. So I'll highlight and illustrate what I've done and how I've done it. But then I will always be focusing on the audience, so what is it you're going to do now and how are you going to do
And
this?
audience is now asking you a question. The question from Nelson Thomas. The question from how Penny marketed herself. How
Well,
Penny
is that
marketed.
as a driver or as a speaker? I'm not sure what Nelson is referring to, but do you know what? It doesn't really matter. if you're going to market yourself, you've got to understand what it is you're delivering to the audience. My intention is to get anyone listening to me to make a positive change in their life. So my marketing, whether it's driving or speaking, is all about how I can help you. It's not about me. It's about what I've done, but how that message will help you. So I think it's really important as a speaker to market yourself, to solve a problem. You know, I can I can help people to manage stress and pressure by developing mental toughness. I'm solving a problem for you. If you're getting stressed, I can solve that. I can help you. So I think it's really important to market yourself around what problem you're solving for the audience.
That is great. Penny, and that's my final question to you. What you will recommend to people who are under big stress because of the political situation? You understand what I'm talking about? Or maybe because of the COVID, or maybe because they lost the job, or maybe somebody is afraid to be old, and now on news they talk about that maybe soon there will be hunger. So a lot of people, they're under incredible stress, the stress that we never witnessed the last 50 years. What is your recommendation? Because some people, they're very mentally strong, but others, they're not that strong. What is
That's
the
right.
key to them?
So yes, you're quite right. The world is having a bad time, and it's only going to get worse. We're going to go into recession. We're going to go into global depression. It's going to be horrible. It's going to create stress and pressure for pretty much everybody. And even if you have a job, you're going to be under more stress and pressure to perform. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, where you are. It's going to affect every single person. And I think it's very difficult to generalize when I'm talking about the world. But I think that really importantly, you know, most of us are driven by achieving things that should be based on our how do I say this? Our goals should be purpose driven. You know, why am I here? What can I contribute? What do I want to do? What is my purpose, my mission, my why? If everything you focus on is purpose driven, it's much more satisfying. And I also think, you know, there's an expression in the UK, and we say, first things first, and second thing, never. If you are trying to do 10 things, maybe try and do 1 or 2. And then the other thing is that uncertainty causes stress. You know, the reason that people get stressed is because nobody knows what's going to happen. And so when you recognize that it's uncertainty that's causing stress, and if you think about anything that's happening in your life or somebody else's life that you know, if they're stressed, it's probably because they don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So we like to control things. We like to get as much.
Turbulence, like in the airplane. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And the turbulence is very strong. And you know, when there is turbulence, nobody's happy. If you look at the face of the passengers,
I love
nobody's
turbulence.
happy, you know?
First things first. Yes, Nelson's just clapped me on that. And it's true. You know, I think it's just try to just to simplify everything. Break everything down to one thing or less than 10 things. You cannot do 10 things brilliantly, like I've said. So understand your mission, your purpose, what you're here to achieve, and break everything down. And when you are driven to achieve that purpose, life gets more enjoyable, and it's more fulfilling. So it's difficult, you know, because when you're talking about the trouble around the world and the effect of COVID, you know, everybody's going to be experiencing extreme stress and pressure. And if I'm honest, I'm a bit lost for words, because it's so big and it's so devastating. So yeah, I think the only way you can get any kind of happiness, peace, is to focus on your purpose and try to do less and do fewer things better.
For me, if you allow me, Penny, to add, for me, if I put it in other words, it's serving people. What you do now, you're serving people by sharing that experience of this 14-year lost girl You think you were strong from the age of 7, but anyway, still it's a lot of things. And instead of being angry with people, with the planet, with the world, you put this anger and you made out of this big minus, big plus. You became a pilot and you put this fears in driving and you became a champion. Isn't it amazing how you can? And now a lot of girls who are watching you, who have problems with their mothers, maybe their mothers are depressed or they drink, who don't have home, who don't have, who maybe lost their parents due to political situation, they will find power looking at
Exactly.
you.
And I think that's so important, that no matter what your circumstances are, you can, it doesn't prevent you from doing anything. It doesn't matter what your situation. And then sometimes the tougher the situation you're in now, the more you will be able to achieve, because you've become so mentally tough and resilient, and you can bounce back. So it's not always the case, but quite often the people that experience extreme adversity become incredibly successful because they learned how to push through a hard time. And that's a fantastic skill. And that's what I would hope that anybody watching would remember, that wherever you are, whatever's going on, it's probably preparing you for some really fantastic stuff ahead.
Penny, are you agree with this Japanese saying? They said, Japanese proverb, that if you didn't have bad experience and difficult times, you should buy it for any money.
Yes,
Why?
and the thing, yes, and of course, adversity for me is incredibly useful. And anything that teaches us something has got to be a good thing. And adversity will always teach you something. So there's nothing to lose. It just never feels like it when you're in it. When you come out of it, and everyone does, because every single one of us will go through life facing challenges and setbacks, because that's how life goes. Nobody escapes that stuff. It's just how we manage it that makes all the difference.
Penny, for me, you are a very big hero, very beautiful, very feminine. Even you said that you are in a rally car and you like this thing, but you have this inner femininity that you use in a beautiful way. I wish you really good luck in whatever you're doing. If by chance you can pass by Dubai on the 20th of October, we are waiting for you as our VIP guest. And thank you for this, being positive. Even you said maybe dark times in front of us, but having positive people and having person we can consult and take your consultation and coaching lessons, at least you know where to go to for advice. And it also gives hope,
You're very kind, and I just wish everybody that gets to see this all the very best. And we're all going to be okay. We're all going to be okay eventually. It is going to be tough, but we're all going to get there.
We will try our best. Thank you so much, Hidden